wanted to talk to you guys today about my Tesla coils. Now, you've seen a lot of different experiments coming out of here for my Tesla coils. And trust me, there's a lot more coming. Where am I at? Well, I've discovered one-wire energy where you put a rod down a Tesla coil. We've all seen that. Lately, I've been working with a bipolar Tesla coil, and I'm putting that one-wire energy into the bipolar Tesla coil, which is, again, one wire that makes it oscillate. So, what am I trying to accomplish here? Well, a lot of you out there look at patents for Tesla, and I think that's outstanding. The thing is, I've only looked at one or two, and the whole reason I don't look at them is it's an adventure. I want to go through the adventure myself. I want to see each part for myself. I want to know what each thing is doing based on what I put into it. It's the fun of discovery. So, what am I learning when I do look at Tesla's patent versus what I actually know now? Well, it starts to make so much more sense in the way he was thinking. Two patents I've looked at. One, I've looked at Tesla's patent, or the picture I should say, of Wardenclyffe. And there's something interesting going on there. There's a variable capacitor to ground. Now, this doesn't make a lot of sense to most people. They think, okay, just go get you a high voltage capacitor, put it to the ground, and be able to pick up more energy. Well, while that's true, I won't deny it. Why is he using a variable capacitor? Well, that's pretty interesting, right? Well, it's the one wire down the center, or the rod down the center of the Tesla coil, that gives you the answer to that. Well, the ground has capacitance. You now need to adjust that capacitance to your coil. Your coil is a pump. That pump must work with the primer. Therefore, you need a variable capacitor in the circuit. You probably wouldn't know that if you didn't put a rod down your Tesla coil or a wire down it to figure that out. You wouldn't understand how each thing that you add to that rod down the center gives you more capacitance. So, is a bucket of mud or sand or anything any different? No, it's not. It all holds a value. Just like the earth itself holds a value. Now, that's a pretty interesting fact that you should learn, and most people just bypass that and they just look at the picture. They go, oh, okay, there's a tower, and we got a Tesla coil, and we got this big top on there, so it must just radiate energy everywhere. It's not what he was doing. He's putting the energy into the ground. He's hitting the water table with an energy that's safe to touch. Now, the rod down the center told you the whole story right there. Once you do that, and you put that rod right there into that water and that sand, now the water and sand is safe to touch. Pretty interesting. But it also shows up in his hairpin circuit. A lot of people asked me to look at it, so I finally did. What did I discover? He used variable capacitors. Well, what does that mean when I keep saying that? Most people go, well, you just buy a capacitor, it's a little cap, you put it in, you wire one or the other, and you're good to go, and it fills up with energy. Well, yeah, that's the way to see it. A variable capacitor is a bit different. They're like little fins, like this, and they connect like this, and they stay at a distance, and when they stay at that distance, they go for a point of saturation between them. Once they reach that point of saturation of that wireless energy, now they can operate properly. By moving them up and down inside that little field, you're changing the capacitor value. If you want to find the capacitance value of the earth itself, you will have to use a variable capacitor to do it. Nobody's going to hit it right away. Nobody's going to go, oh man, I bought this one off the shelf and it was perfect. It just doesn't work that way. You have to find it exactly how Tesla did it. Put it in here, saturate it, get it to the point where it's right, and keep it. That's the understanding there. Why does this make sense to us? Well, when we used any kind of circuitry to do this, if you do not have the capacitance of the ground understood, you'll start to blow circuits. Your Tesla coil acts like it's had more winding on it than it should have. So your numbers on your oscilloscope are going to go way off the charts, or it will not pull yourself in resonance. It'll do a resonance value, Don't get me wrong, you'll still get radiant energy a little bit, but you won't get the full energy you should get. You're going to be able to double the value if you can actually do it the right way. So, that's part of why I do this. It's a discovery and understanding. Discovery and understanding. That's what I love about this whole thing. Now, I recently built a bipolar Tesla coil. What does that mean? The number 2 winding goes all the way from one end to the other, just like another regular number 2 winding. But in the center is your number 1 coil. Now, it's interesting that I can get it oscillating with one wire. Every Tesla coil that I've ever seen is 2 wires. And it's very simple. It's a DC circuit. All you're doing is putting a pulse rate into that number 1 coil in order to get the number 2 coil to oscillate. But think about what I just said. All I want is a magnetic pulse in the primary coil to get the secondary one to turn on. That's it. That's the whole secret of it. You go AC, DC, everybody has their own thing. It really does not matter. A pulsed magnetic circular device will start that Tesla coil. That's it. Pulses. Pulses of a magnetic field. That's all it is. So I don't care if it's AC or DC as long as it produces it. And for a lot of you out there, you need to please understand this. Whether it's AC or DC, it's still going through the circuitry and producing the pulse. So when I hook one wire to it, what does that mean? It means that I'm still putting the same pulse that I do for my Tesla coil into that another primary in order to get it to oscillate, because I'm putting just a magnetic field in there that pulses. That's why it's working. Now it's going into the secondary and produces energy. Here's the cool thing that I learned. Primary Tesla coil is like a well, okay? Water's full in it all the time. Now, magical well, whatever you want to say, it's always full, okay? The wire down the center is pulling a cup out at a time. It does not affect the primary circuit unless you change the capacitance by adding anything to that wire down the center or the rod down the center. As long as you don't mess with that, you're going to pull all the energy you want, and the primary circuit continues to oscillate. What does that mean? It means that it's an open circuit. It is not a closed circuit. Now that you understand that, you have a pulse going down the rod, in and out. Everything's pushing to the center there. Pull the energy out, and you pulse another coil with it. Guys, this is the understanding. If you ever want to get to any kind of free energy or anything, that's how you got to understand it. Now, what is it doing? All we're doing is playing with coils to make them transformers. Again, Tesla has an air core transformer. That's what they are. That's what Tesla coils are. So now, what happens when we put that rod down the center and we get it to run the one wire on the bipolar coil? Well, the energy is different. And it's more like an AC flyback energy now instead of a Tesla coil energy. Now, if you've messed with both of them, you understand the difference. One is very high volts, very little amps. That's the Tesla coil. Turn around, what's the other one? High volts, high amps. What is everybody looking for? High volts, high amps. This is the conversion back. This is where you're going to get your energy that you want to put into your capacitor bank and see if you get any over unity effects. It is the key to doing that. Now, am I looking for over unity? No, I'm really not. That's not my goal in all of this. I know some people out there are doing that. I'm not. I'm simply just discovering what Tesla knew. I want to know everything he knew. It's just something I wanted to do. So, now that I know the conversion, what's the next step? Well, the next logical step, say, well, if it's an AC flyback, then you have to have a soft iron core. Okay, well, I can go with that. That's a pretty simple and easy way to do it. Now, put the iron core in there, run it the same exact way. Now I have something that converts it back to the energy I want. Now I have an iron core. What's the iron core for? Now I can just attach the wires right there to the capacitor bank on the other side of that iron core right here. And now I can see what I can get, or I can change the wire size multiple different times and see exactly the values I get out of it. Do I want to run thinner wire? Do I want to run thicker wire? What am I looking to achieve? How many amps do I want out of it? How many volts do I want out of it? There you go. That's the next step in the process. Now we have usable energy. You can now loop that to any part of the system you want. Now you can go, okay, I now have energy in a capacitor bank. I can now use that to run my primary system. And you could put a bypass in and run the primary system. Why another part of the capacitor bank goes over here and just has energy ready for use. That's pretty easy. That's pretty much a over unity thing right there. As long as you can figure out the steps that I gave you in order to get there, you can do it. So, how many capacitors can you fill up? Well, how many do you want to put there? You see, by putting the rod down the center, I broke the circuit. It is no longer a looped circuit. I don't have to follow the conservation of energy. I can now pull out as much energy as I want. How many capacitors can I hook up? Well, how many do I have? I mean, really, that's the question, isn't it? How many do I have? Now, capacitor banks don't fill up unless you pull the load. There's something for you. You have to pull a load on the capacitor bank in order to pull all the energy through. Why? Because it's a system that's pulling from one area to another. And in order to get it all to fill up, that's what you have to keep in mind. Now, does it have to be a big load like, you know what I mean? Some kind of air conditioner or, I don't know, hot plate. I don't know what you want to put over there. Light bulbs, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be that, but it can be that. Whatever it is you want as your load, put it over there. Can you use the ground as a load? Well, there you go. Now you're starting to think of the way I'm thinking. If I use the ground as a load, it'll continuously pull the circuit. That's a pretty interesting understanding because, again, we have to add some understanding for capacitance to ground. So now we're just putting it at the other end of the circuit and we're now double grounding. That's a huge value to us. If it's too much to understand that, just put a load on it. Just put a light bulb on the end. That's it. Put a light bulb so they're able to pull some of the energy, use a little bit of it in order to pull the stuff to the system. That's okay too. That's not a problem here. So, what are some of the other understandings that we got through on learning this stuff? Well, I also showed you the piezoelectric disc. Now, this is so cool. You can literally take a rod, put it down the Tesla coil. Take a wire, put it through that rod. Okay? 1/4 inch hollow rod is what I use. Put the wire right down it. It's a negative wire that's going to go in between an ultrasound circuit and the piezo disc. What are you doing? You're breaking the negative. That's as simple as it gets. The piezoelectric disc is a receiver and a transmitter. It's going to be receiving the Tesla coil signal, so then it can repeat it back when you turned off the transmitter part. That's what breaking the negative is. You're basically feeding it a signal. Then when you turn it off, it's going to give a feedback to the system. And it's going to push that signal of the Tesla coil back to it. That's why it's run down the center of it, so that it can pick up that same signal. What is going on when you do that? Well, it doubles. It doesn't just double on the positive side, it doubles on the negative side as well. Again, you're in the center of your Tesla coil when you're doing this. So it's going to radiate out the energy. The negative that's on the inside, the positive that's on the outside, it gets both. So, if you're at 160 on your, if you have 160 millivolts that's going out through this wire, right? You're going to amplify it. It's going to double, okay? It's going to go to what, 320? And then you're going to have double on both sides. 320 here, 320 here. You started at 160, 160. Boom, it doubles on both sides. That's what the piezo disc is doing. So, Now that you know how to amplify it in your primary circuit, you can now do it when you want to. You can create a pulse whenever you want. You want it continuous? Do you want it basically when you push a button? Whichever you want, it's there for you. It's a pretty easy understanding. By the way, I put the full builds for my Tesla coils on my channel. I also put the ultrasound circuit and how it's broken down on my channel as well, in case you wanted to see those. So now, why would we run a bipolar Tesla coil with this? This is so beautiful. What am I looking for? Some of this stuff goes right back to Hutchinson. Piezo. Bipolar Tesla coil. There's an understanding here. You also need a magnetic field, and you also need eddy current from aluminum. Now, we're getting to parts of this, whether we liked it or not, whether we tried to get there or not, we're heading right towards it. And I can see every bit of it. If you want to make a crystal cell, whether you want to use crystal itself, that's why I show the water experiments. Because I'm teaching you how to interact with the crystal itself with these Tesla coils. You see, I see a lot of people that go, well, I have a crystal, I put it in sand, and it purifies. Well, maybe. I haven't known it to do that. But then they go, well, I put a Tesla coil to it, and I connected my number 2 coil right to the actual wire that goes around the crystal, and I tried to activate it. Well, I don't think so. You're not yet. I haven't seen anybody match the frequency of the actual crystal. That'd be something to see. What do I know that you don't know? And this is something you're really going to have to understand. Crystal itself puts out energy, puts out millivolts of energy when you have it in water. Now just think about that for a minute. You say, well, I got a lot of people who are into the crystal and they want to do something with it, and they put it in water and they say it has an effect. Well, it does. Because you're activating the crystal. You found a way to talk to the crystal. You found the language it likes. That's basically how I would want to say it. It may not be the most accurate term in the world, but it's really what it is. So what would I do with the Tesla coil in order to talk to it better? Well, I put a frequency in my Tesla coil, I put a rod down my Tesla coil, put it into the water. Then I'd put my crystal in there. Well, now I'm able to communicate with it. Because water gives you access to the crystal. The Tesla coil gives you the frequency you want. So you want to impart the frequency from the Tesla coil onto the crystal. You go, wow, Tesla coil is in kilohertz. Maybe I just want hertz. Well, that's okay. Build your Tesla coil a little different. Add more windings on the number 2 coil. Get that thing down to the hertz and get it to where you want it. You want to put healing energy into it? Do it. You know, whatever it is you want to do there, you can do it. Because now you know the process. It's a little different. So, would I say go out and build this right away? No. Please learn what you're doing first. If you put your Tesla coil and you put the rod down the center and you put it too close like this, what are you going to get? You're going to get hot energy. Common misunderstanding of this, you have too much in this little space when you put that rod down the center. Or you want to put this gigantic rod down the center, there's not a lot of space, and your circuit will probably explode because you didn't compensate for it right away. What would I suggest? 4-inch coil, 1/4-inch hollow rod. Perfectly understood. Anything smaller than that in a solid rod down to 1/8 of an inch, perfect as well. You're going to get the right type of energy in that. Put it directly into the sand and water. Now, what do you get out of that? Now you put your crystal in there. Now you can activate your crystal. You're going to be able to put some energy into it, but really what you're doing is imparting frequency onto that crystal. Does it have memory? You'll find out. I haven't gotten there yet, but we'll see. I know that I'm imparting it on the crystal though. I know that doing this type of process imparts frequencies onto something. So if you ever wanted to do that, go for it. Again, this is why we do the test independently of understanding where the patent is. The patent tells you one thing, gives you a great source of where to go. But you have to learn how to play with the Tesla coil too. You have to learn how to make the adventure work for you. You see, that's what I do here. I always try to find things because I love new discoveries. And you know what they really are? They're discoveries that Tesla already made that I am now making independently on my own and verifying everything he did. And I'll say this up front. There is not a thing with that Tesla coil that I'm going to find that he has not done already. I know that. I'm okay with that. You know, there's nothing out here you could patent because it's his. It is a Tesla coil. It is Tesla's. It is not mine. But the understanding can be yours if you want to sit and learn and look at how we're doing things and understand things. Not everything has to change the type of material you use. But sometimes when you want to build something with a certain frequency in it, you may want to learn this lesson. I want to build bismuth with the correct frequency that I want. In order to do that, I have to understand how to impart frequency onto something. I'm going to use this Tesla coil to do that. I'm going to use the processes I described in order to do that. We're going to build the crystal we want with the frequency we want because we know how to do it. That's why it's so special. Now, the world is our oyster. We could do whatever we want. And that's where I want to get to with it. Now I got more tests. Now, can I put a Slayer exciter on my bipolar Tesla coil? That's really exciting. I mean, I've never seen it. I think it's awesome. Why do you want to use a Slayer exciter? Well, I got one that doesn't blow up on me. That's number one. Number two, I can run this thing at 40 volts all day. So it's absolutely an amazing circuit. But I want to see, because it's a self-correcting circuit, it's forced oscillation. So no matter if you're in the right frequency or not, it's going to force the oscillation. So in a bipolar Tesla coil, that's important because the rod goes all the way through and in the center is your primary. As you move your primary left and right, you change the frequency of it. What better way to do that with a adjustable circuit that'll adjust to the frequency as you move it? Now, most other Tesla coil circuits, like my ZVS, would explode. They just fry them offsets and that'd be done. But the Slayer exciter circuit will allow me to move it left and right and adjust values with a simple transistor and a resistor is the entire circuit. That's what's hilarious about it. The simplest forms are going to give me the most things that I want. So we'll set it up, see how it does, and find out exactly where we can push this thing. Now we'll probably end up blowing up a lot of them for various stupid reasons, like I wanted to push the limit on it and I wanted to push it to 50 volts or something where it shouldn't go, and that'll happen all day. I concede that up front. I go through a lot of stuff by doing that because I like to push the limits on it, but the sense of adventure is still there. I'm still going to be able to do all this stuff. And the crazy thing is, I've just started. So one of my goals was get past 5 feet on my outside water area, a 10 foot by 10 foot pond. 5 feet of energy is working in there, but there's no sand. There's no quartz. So one of the processes is I got to put sand in there. Then we're going to see if it moves. Why is this important? When you look at ancient Egypt and you look at how the actual pyramid works, and you understand granite has compressed quartz inside of it, and you know that granite picks up water like a candle wick, but you also now know that you can impart frequency onto crystal by using a Tesla coil. But the only thing a Tesla coil is a magnetic pulse that pulses here, that sends a pulse wave into the next one. And you go, well, hold on. What if I can create a magnetic pulse in the ground and then have it hit the top and have it oscillate as well? Then I have essentially a Tesla coil that's pumping the ground. What are they finding out? That when you build things in a pyramid shape, it works as a pump. So many interesting tie-ins there that we're going to have to learn, and learn the exact process of how it does it. What does that also mean? That means if I took this Tesla coil right now, and I took a piece of granite, and I wanted to electrically conduct the energy into the granite, I put the rod down the Tesla coil, and I can do that all day long. And it'll seem to people like it's a AC flyback, the energy that comes out of it. And they'll say, oh my God, there's so many volts coming out of it. Well, yeah, there pretty much is. But the understanding I gave you on how to build it tells you the exact process that was behind the little black box that was underneath that granite Tesla coil looking thing. That's it. That was the secret. That's all that it is. Somebody understood the rod down the center and they used it. So anyway, guys, there's a lot of different adventures we can go with this Tesla coil, and I'm excited to give them all to you. But all I got to say is hang in there, because every little part's going to be important. Right now I'm working on the grounding aspect and see if I can't get that variable capacitor to work better. I'm trying to create a field in the ground. And if I can create it big enough, man, we can start working on some anti-gravity stuff that I've been working on. So that's going to be awesome. Right now it's just a little field. I need it to be bigger. So we're going to have to work on some of the grounding, and the variable capacitor is the way to go. Eventually I'll look at the rest of the patents, but why not just live with the adventure for now? You guys can tell me which ones they are, and I'll just write them on a list to go back and look at them later. So with that said, guys, I want to thank everybody for watching. We have a lot more fun adventures to come up with the Tesla coil, and we're going to learn a heck of a lot more. It's not just a sparkler, guys. There's a reason to build it. All right, thank you for watching. Before we get out of here, I just want to let you guys know that I offer memberships on my channel now. It's a really cool thing. I do behind the scenes stuff. I give you more information. I also put things out early on it. All of my Fringe Think Tank Star Trek episodes will be on there. I just put out another one, a number 7 episode. Also, you're going to get emojis on there that you can use in the live chats. They're pretty cool. And as we grow our membership, I'll be able to put more emojis out there. Just a fun way to liven up the chat a little bit. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and have yourself a great day. Thank you very much.